And welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's West Ham United 2, Liverpool 0, and this is a match preview. I am Gio from hammerschat.com. I've got two fellow hammerschat.com members with me. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And Scott, thank you very much for popping on again.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Well, before we crack on with the show, I'd like to say Happy New Year to everybody from hammerschat.com, and thank you for your support this season so far. We're slowly growing, and slowly is a key word in sometimes, but we're getting there. But if you could be kind enough and hit the subscribe button to help us grow. We had Chris Sakabuski on the last show. He was fantastic. So if you haven't seen it, do go back and watch it. You cannot beat his enthusiasm, and we hope to have some well-known faces coming to you very soon on this very show. But let's talk about the game. Obviously, Payet was on the bench. Charlie, were you happy with the team lineup?
Yeah, it was literally exactly what I would have picked. I wanted Lanzini in the centre because I think we're better when we have someone in the centre. Everything was correct for me, like absolutely everything.
Scott, you must have been happy with the start, the first 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. Do you think we were on the money?
Yeah, I think getting off to a good start, putting pressure on them. Liverpool, seen them over the last few weeks, they hate it when you put pressure on them. You allow them to play, they'll play. You put pressure on them, they just fall apart, and that's what we did.
Well, it didn't take long. Antonio hounded Montero down on the left-hand side, put in the tackle/foul. Now let's talk about that. Charlie, is that a foul to you?
My initial reaction was yes. I've seen the replay once, but not properly, and I still think it probably was a foul-ish. If it was light, but I think it might have been yes.
Scott, do you agree with that? Free kick for you?
Yeah, free kick.
Yeah, I think so, but I think it's about time that we had a little bit of luck go with this. There's no way, in my opinion, the referee could have called that 100% correct from his view, because Antonio was between Montero, the ball, and the referee. So there's no way the referee could see that. The system was on the other side of the pitch. There's rules him out. It would have been very brave to give a free kick to Liverpool in such an attacking position without knowing for sure. The referee wasn't to know that 27 seconds later or whatever, Antonio was going to go stick it in the net. But what I will say, for the first time that I've been pleased to see West Ham do, is not put the ball out of play. I started to get a bit fed up these last few games when a player goes down and we just knock it out and just for no reason. You know, he's not. You can tell he's not injured. I doubt he's broke his leg from that type of tackle. We played on. Kouyaté is back. He was fantastic in the first half. He did one bursting run, gave it to Enner Valencia. Another fantastic cross by him. Bang, goal. Charlie, what's your thoughts on the goal?
Although I do think it was a foul, that shouldn't be blamed. Do you know what I mean? Liverpool can say it's a foul, but that should not be an excuse. The difference between Liverpool and West Ham was the fact that when Moreno did go down, he rolled about on the floor for 5 seconds, whereas Antonio got a lung-busting run all the way across the other end of the pitch and then got on the end of it and put the ball in the net, and that's what should be blamed for the goal as opposed to the foul. I think the ball in was perfect. Whether he meant it to go to Antonio or Carroll, I won't argue with, but the ball in was perfect, and Antonio, honestly, he was immense. That run just to get to that position from where he was absolutely fantastic.
I think it meant to go to Antonio, and I'll tell you why when we talk about the second half. Scott, Lanzini's effort, how class is Lanzini, and that shot is special, isn't it?
It is. I mean, like I can go right back on the times when we were talking about him when he was coming. We didn't really know much about him when we were looking up, but we certainly know him about him now. He's unbelievable. His technique is second to none. It really, really is. And there's not many players in the Premiership can hit a ball like he can.
Yeah, that would have been one of the best goals of the season, I think. When your keeper is experienced as Mignolet stands there, and granted everybody will say he's a crap keeper, I know that's going to come, but when a keeper as experienced as him stands in the centre of his goal and puts his hands up because he thinks it's going wide, and it cannons off the inside of the post like that, you know it's a special hit. Lanzini unfortunately got injured with his thigh. I actually thought it was the wrong sub at the time by Bilic. Charlie, did you think the same?
I think for the time it was probably the right decision, just because I didn't want to see Payet come on too early and get injured, and to be honest with you, I didn't want to see Zarate on the pitch at all. Again, that's a personal thing, but yeah. So I thought it was the right decision, but it really did kill off the first half and all the atmosphere as well. The atmosphere got sucked out of the stadium really quickly after that, and I think we were lucky in the way we weren't punished for it, I think, a little bit, but sometimes luck goes your way.
Scott, do you agree with that? The start of the second half as well. Do you not think we were quite defensive? Were you worried, Scott?
No, I thought it was going our way. I think the thing I like about we could lose, but as long as we graft, that's all I want from our team. I just want them to put a shift in, and from the start they put a shift in. And you were talking about Antonio before. I'm a big believer. If you work hard, you'll get your rewards. And that lad, every time he's been put on, he's done his runs, he's put his shift in, and he was in the right place at the right time, and he took his opportunity. And that's what I get from him. He's a grafter, and every player today put a shift in.
So you weren't worried that we were sitting really deep at the end of the first half? I can almost understand the end of the first half sitting deep. Let's just get to half time and go in and reshuffle. I can understand that. But did they not worry that it came out in the second half? I thought we gave Liverpool too much respect.
I think sitting deep helped us. I think their striker was looking to get in the back of us, and that's all he was looking for. He wasn't looking to hold the ball up and introduce it to midfield. All he was looking for, he was saying over the top, over the top. We were sitting deep. There was no spacing behind him. We just nullified him completely.
To be honest, I don't think Benteke really could demand what to do. He was awful today. He's one of the worst players on the pitch, I think. But Charlie, the second goal came. Talk us through it.
So it was completely against the run of play, absolutely completely. I mean, like you said, we were sitting too deep and we weren't really creating anything. We weren't giving up a lot, but we just going forward, we had nothing. And then we seemed to win this throw-in out of nowhere, and everyone who had the ability to pass the ball somehow found themselves in this tiny space. And I'm still not 100% sure. I've watched the replay. I'm still not 100% sure how Noble found himself in as much space as he did behind the defence. But he had all the time in the world and put in, again, another absolutely perfect ball. Liverpool didn't pick up. Liverpool should know you should pick up Andy Carroll from these positions, but they didn't. He attacks the ball and it's in the back of the net, and it was almost too easy, and it was completely against the run of play, to be perfectly honest.
But Scott, do you not think that Andy Carroll's positioning for that goal makes him the striker he is?
Okay, I'm not an Andy Carroll fan. I think he's cost us too much money. I think every goal, it's like £1 million a goal. No, I don't. I don't think he scores enough goals to be a striker. And I'd like to see a different striker. Having said that, he took his goal exceptionally today, and there was something said on the stream that I was watching. The difference between the two strikers today is they play similar games, but we gave him service and they didn't give their striker service. So I think if you do give him them it's not the kind of football I like, but if you're going to put them balls in there, you're going to get a goal or two off him. He missed a sitter though.
I was about to say, should he have made it 3-0, Scott?
Definitely. That was probably an easier chance than the first one.
Well, I'm going to give Bilic, the team, and Carroll credit here, because the first goal, as Charlie said, went to Klein, bang, goal. The second one went to Klein, bang, goal. The third one went to their young fullback, Brad Smith, the most English name there is. Again, Carroll dominated him. And I don't think it's a coincidence that all three of our successful crosses, if you like, went to their fullback. And if that's what they planned, if that's what they targeted, then massive credit to Bilic for doing that, because he's, Lovren and Sacco, while we take the mick out of them, they're not the worst in the air. I thought they handled Carroll okay, when it was like goal kicks or whatever. They handled Carroll fine enough. But whenever we got the crosses in and we aimed at their fullbacks, they didn't have a hope in hell. Fantastic to West Ham for doing that. It's about time we played to Carroll's strengths. I said this in the preview, and I know I get your point, Scott. He didn't score enough goals, but I don't think we've ever played to his strengths properly. And I'm not talking about Sam Allardyce launch it from our own 18-yarder up to him. I'm talking about playing the pretty football until we get into the final third, then cross it in. I don't see that as an ugly kind of style of play. Come on then, Scott. What have you got to say?
Having said that, I don't think anybody's played to his strengths since that one season that he had at Newcastle. He had one season. And so you can say Newcastle didn't play to his strengths. Liverpool for them years didn't play to his strengths. We haven't played to his strengths. I think at some point Andy Carroll needs to take responsibility. And what I'm saying is, I think my personal view is I want a more rounded striker up front. I want somebody who can play a game this way, can play a game that way, not just turn up and expect these crosses to come in.
Charlie, do you think Andy Carroll is adapting his game? Because I think he is.
He's certainly trying, and I think the one thing me and Scott agree on almost consistently is the fact that we rather have players grafting than and losing than not grafting and whatever. And I think Andy Carroll is a trier. Like he's not the most mobile of players, but he does drop back, he does make runs, he does constantly try. Um, I think he is adapting somewhat, and I think it's difficult when you say play to his strengths because he is unbelievably good in the air, and he's probably the best in the Premier League in the air, and so it's playing to his feet is almost doing him a disservice because he is just that good. The obvious thing is his injuries. He needs to just, if he had an injury-free season, he could be. I genuinely believe. I think he could be in the top tier of strikers in the Premier League. But that's me.
So do I. I think he's adapting his game. I think we're seeing more from him. Like when Payet crossed it, it was a low cross to his feet. He didn't quite make the complete connection to have an effort and go, but he still made the run to the front post. He still beat his defender to it and got the touch on it. Now, one thing we're going to talk about is a new tactic, which I'm not seeing West Ham do, a Rory Delap tactic. Now we're all going to say we don't want to see long ball. We don't want to see dinosaur football. Is this, Charlie, is this dinosaur football, or are you thinking, yes, let's use Antonio's long throws?
No, why not? Let's be honest, right? For the last couple of seasons, one of my pet peeves for West Ham has been our short throws. They've been so bad. No one makes any movement. We get a throw in, everyone just sort of stands still and looks around for a bit. Why not just launch it into the box? There's no harm in it. If we've got people who can header it, which we can, Andy Carroll, Piatti, Bonner, Collins, Tompkins, why not? Just lob it in there. There's no difference between that and throwing it short and crossing it in, is there?
Scott, do you agree with that, or are you not a fan of the long throw? Because let's face it, Stoke got a lot of criticism for it. Rory Delap took a lot of stick for doing his long throws. What's your opinion, Scott?
I'm all for it. Yeah, get the towels out for the ball boys to clean it off for him, and let's get it in that danger area. Let's whatever pressure we can put on an opponent, get it in there.
It causes panic.
As long as you don't get injured by pulling an arm muscle or something.
It causes panic, though. The first one we did in the first half, Creswell had that shot that got deflected wide, and the second one was when the ball came back in and Klein collided with Valencia, and it was never a penalty, but it caused panic, and if that's something we can bring. And I noticed in the first throw we took, James Collins came up for it. Like, this is how serious Bilic is taking it. He's sending his centre forward to go up for a long throw, and I love it because I've always believed that if you've got someone that can do that, use it, because they're like twice as accurate as a corner. And you always bung a corner into the box, but a throw in is a hell of a lot more accurate. So use it and go for it. And to be honest, it would almost create excitement in the box. If there was a draw 10 minutes to go and everybody piles in the box and you've got Antonio away to launch a throw in, it would get the crowd buzzing. It was bringing entertainment, I think, anyway. Charlie, who stood out for you today?
Antonio. Antonio was so good. I think he's drawn some deserved criticisms in recent weeks, but obviously I missed the Southampton game, but he was obviously very good there. But he was so good today. His work rate was second to none. And he's finally started to play with that confidence. Early on, he was really struggling because I think just because he had that long absence and he was too nervous to properly get into the games and to get into the team. But now he's there. He looks like when I remember doing the show at the beginning of the season, and we said, do we think he could adapt to the Premier League? And I said yes. He looks like he's now actually starting to be able to do that. Collins had another strong game, although he did obviously make his customary mistake in misjudging the ball. I think those two were the two big ones for me. And I know Scott's not going to enjoy this, but I think Noble had a good game as well.
Scott, who stood out for you today?
Cresswell had a good game. Ginger Pelly had a good game. But Antonio, because he was stuck on the side for ages and ages. He's got his opportunity, and bit by bit he's coming into our side. And I like him, like I was saying, he put a shift in and he made himself a nuisance, and I like that about him. But here we go, Noble. He frustrates the hell out of me, and he's not my favourite player. But today I'll take my hat off and I'll say Noble was my favourite player today. He put a shift in. He put himself. Why he don't do it every bloody game, I don't know. But he put himself about. He was a bloody nuisance, and I liked him for it. So I'm going to go with Noble.
I tell you why I think he doesn't do every game, Scott. I think three in the middle, like we had against Southampton, is too much. And Noble tends to go on this headless chicken run, trying to chase down defenders because he knows, like, them two are at the back. One of us has to go forward. I'll go forward and chase them, and he can't do it. He's just not quick enough. You know, centre backs must laugh when they see him running at them, and they've got the ball. They must think I've got all the time in the world to play this.
I think with that cross, though, I did see his head look up for the back pass, but I think he got forced into crossing it. I think that's what he did.
Any excuse. But I think you make a good point about Creswell. I think our fullbacks over the last few weeks have gone putting in solid performances without getting too much spotlight on them because they don't have a lot of protection in front of them today. And Tompkins especially was a lot up against Coutinho cutting inside and Montero coming down the outside of him. And he coped very well today. But I think the team spirit is what makes our formation work. The fact that they egg each other on, but they can also snap at someone if they need to, and I think it just works. One player nobody's mentioned, and I don't think we missed him at all because of Mark Noble, was Alex Song. Supposedly world class, but I don't think we missed him at all today, and I think that's why Mark Noble, for me, was my man of the match. Having our two Kouyaté and Noble in there, for me, is our best pairing for now, but you keep the shirt, and that's who I'll expect. Well, we've got the cup game up next anyway. But we're going to bail off your screens now. Remember and hit the subscribe button today so you don't miss any of our shows. Come on to hammerschat.com, click on the forum and get involved with us. We'll be back next week when we'll be looking at the cup game. We'll be asking just how much concentration should Bilic be putting on the cup and where can West Ham finish in the league this season. We'll also have more content coming, new content coming from Charlie and Chris. And also we'll be doing a one-off show on the transfer window as to see what we think West Ham United should be doing. But Charlie, thank you for popping on.
Thank you for having me.
Scott, thank you as always.
Thanks very much. Enjoyed that. Thank you.
And I've been Gio. Thank you for joining us. Good night.